Okay, so the next sentence pattern after the for simple is called compound sentences. And as it says on page 324 of a writer's reference, excuse me, let's just hide this for a second. It says that a compound sentence is composed of two or more independent clauses with no subordinate clauses. Independent clauses are usually joined with a comma and a coordinating conjunction, and they list them there, or with a semicolon. So we're going to go to these other ones, these things where they say see. So we'll start first with when a coordinating conjunction connects two or more independent clauses, that is word groups that could stand alone as separate sentences, a comma must come before the conjunction. And there are only 7 coordinating conjunctions in English. They list them here, but I'm going to show you a better way to remember these. So I'm just going to pop over there in just a minute. But one of the things that you need to understand with this is that a comma tells readers that one independent clause has come to a close and that another is about to begin. So let's see, we're going to actually use this over here, and go back one for this in a minute. Okay, so here's the 2 patterns that we have up here. So the first one is the subject plus the verb, then a coordinating conjunction and a comma, and then the subject plus the verb. Okay, so the other one is the subject plus the verb as a semicolon, and the subject plus the verb. So in English, we call the coordinating conjunctions, so that's what this is right here. CC stands for coordinating conjunctions. And they are for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. And we write them in this order, not because of alphabetical, because it spells out fanboys. So, let's see, actually, let's do a new one. Show you what that means. If you write them vertically, you've got for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. So just write those for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Okay, so those are the 7 coordinating conjunctions. They're the 7 items that you would use in this. You won't use any other coordinating conjunctions. So I'm going to go through each of these so that you can see how each of them work. The first one that we have here is for. And according to the dictionary, so let me just grab the definition of this right here. For definition, according to, I looked at several. Which was the one that I went through? Gosh. I'm trying to think. I think it was the Oxford Dictionary, or the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, I think, also did this. Basically, you use for in a lot of places, but in the case of it being used as a functioning word that joins 2 other things together, in other words, as a conjunction, the definition, according to Merriam-Webster, is for that reason, or on this ground, or because. So one way to read this was, I told her to leave because I was exhausted. Now there's another sentence pattern where you can use this same thing, but this is just it's kind of an archaic way of saying it, an old-fashioned way. And in fact, when you read it, I told her to leave for I was exhausted. It kind of sounds that way. It kind of sounds a little old-fashioned. And then we've got the running back scored and the crowd cheered. I think everyone understands that one. And's function here is just to join the two clauses together. I'm going to skip over Nord in just a minute because it's a little tricky. The car broke down, but a rescue van arrived within minutes. So in this case, but is standing in place of contrasting elements. So the car broke down, but we've got some good news, a rescue van came. Or allows us to have an option. You can stay or you can go. And then I'm going to skip down to so. His potential date rejected him, so he ate his ravioli in solitude. Now, this is a, this is definitely this, therefore this, you know, so it's like a causal way of going. So this next one, the one up here, my third cousin didn't like me, nor did he care. I'm actually going to ask for this one in class because this one's too tricky and I feel like it might do better if it's live. But understand that one of the ways we can pick apart these items is by doing them in separate sentences. So the first one would be my third cousin, that's highlighting there. We're gonna highlight it. My third cousin is our subject, and then our verb here, didn't like, is our subject here, or not a subject, but our verb, and then me is a direct object. So this is a simple sentence number 3 that you have here. And then if we were to do this, we would say the subject here is he, but if we were to write this by itself, how would it go? That's the question, and that's what I'm going to cover in class, I think on Monday, but I'm going to try it here. So basically, if I were to write this, he didn't care, because I wouldn't write he did care, because that's not what it's saying. It's he didn't care. And if I were to write that sentence by itself, that's how I would write it. And the reason that it's that way is because right here, nor is functioning as a negator. So any verbs that follow nor are going to have a couple of things happen to them. They're going to be kind of introverted. They're going to, not introverted, what's the word? Inverted, that's the word. They're going to be inverted and they're going to be negated. So he didn't care, he did not care. So any verb that's here is going to be the opposite of what we have. And then the next one down here, he was kind to me, yet I felt uncomfortable around him. Now the definition of yet is pretty tricky as well. So that's why I reserved this one toward the end. So when we're looking up the definition of yet, what it implies, there's two different ways that you can define yet. And in Merriam-Webster, they have a couple of them listed here, but we're looking at we're looking at it as a conjunction. And the conjunction says but, or nevertheless. And then I think Oxford Dictionary also said, but at the same time. So one of the ways we can test to make sure we've done the yet correctly, so he was kind to me, yet I felt uncomfortable around him, is we can say, nevertheless. We can plug in that definition, or we can plug in, actually it was but, right? It was but, nevertheless. Kind of awkward. We could also say, but I felt uncomfortable around him. But at the same time, I felt uncomfortable around him. So he was kind to me, but at the same time, I felt uncomfortable around him, or I felt uncomfortable around him. So there's a couple of definitions we can plug in there instead of yet. And that's one of the things. So they're opposites of each other in this one, but not in the same way that but is, if that makes sense. Now, with a compound sentence pattern, you can use any of the sentence patterns you just learned. So simple sentence number 1, simple sentence number 2, simple sentence number 3, or 4. And I'll give you an example right here. So Bob is a jerk. That's simple sentence number 2. But May is worse than him. So Bob is a jerk. It's simple sentence number 2, and it's purest form because Bob is our subject, is our linking verb, and a jerk definitely renames Bob. And May is worse. Worse is an adjective. Worse describes May. Okay, so we've got 2 simple sentences number 2 right there, but you don't have to necessarily do that. You could say Bob is a jerk, but I like him anyway. So you could have said it that way. but I like him anyway. So we've got simple sentence number 2, and then right there we've got I like him. So that's simple sentence number 3. Okay, so oops, let's do this. Oops. No. Okay, let's just go back. Sorry, guys. You see me go through my editing process here. All right. Okay, so he threw me the ball. Oh, this one I need to give you some space here so I can show you how this one is. This is simple sentence number 4. So what we've got here is we've got our subject, our verb. Ooh, let's actually do this. Our subject, our verb. He threw what? He threw the ball. So that tells us what? And that's our direct object. And to or for whom? He threw it to me. So there's simple sentence number 4, and then we've got simple sentence number 1 because we've got subject and verb. I ran away. Away is an adverbial noun. It's just telling us where I ran, which was away. So you can mix these up any way you like. If you go up here, you can see I told her to leave. I told who? I told her to leave. I was exhausted. Again, simple sentence number 2 there. The running back scored. 1, simple sentence number 1. And the crowd cheered. Simple sentence number 1. My third cousin didn't like me. Simple sentence number 3. Nor did he care, so he didn't care. That's simple sentence number 1. The car broke down. Number 1. A rescue van arrived. Number 1. Can you kind of see how this is going? All right, so kind to me, simple sentence number 2. I felt uncomfortable. I am uncomfortable, simple sentence number 2 there. See, I am uncomfortable around him. His potential date rejected him, subject, verb. Oops, no, there's the verb. And then him being our direct object. So it's simple sentence number 3. So you can do them in any order that you would like to do them in. Now, one of the things that, let's just erase all of these. One of the things that you need to remember when you write these is you can use any of those variety, but you have to do a subject, subject verb, comma, FANBOYS subject verb. Now, there's an analogy that I am going to use, and I think I'd rather do it in class because it helps if I could provide the visual, and I'd rather not switch over to me at this moment. So one thing to keep in mind, that all you have to do is remember that when you want to make a connection, when you want to establish a connection, use a comma and a coordinating conjunction. Always use one of the FANBOYS and a comma. Because again, the comma shows us that we're at the end of the first clause, and then the coordinating conjunction helps us to get to that next sentence. Basically, it connects them. And some of these sentences, like the running back scored, the crowd cheered, they really don't have a relationship, not a very strong one. I told her to leave, I was exhausted. Yeah, that one works. Let's see. He ate his ravioli in solitude and his potential date rejected him. If these weren't right next to each other, they could stand on their own all by themselves. They're not connection. There's no connection. So by using a comma and a coordinating conjunction, we're forming that connection. We're creating a connection between the two clauses. Now the next one down here is semicolons. And in this one, let's see, let's go to the next page here. In this next one, they have a rule regarding this. Oh dear. Where are you? Oh no, this is not what I wanted. Let's go back to sentence structures. Yeah, I think that's the one I wanted. I don't know why it went back to sentence types. That was kind of weird. Okay, so the second one is P3A. So in the punctuation section on page 271, it says, use a semicolon That's the dot. That's the one that's like the little dot plus the period, the dot and the comma next to each other. So it's not the colon, but the semicolon. And it says, use a semicolon between closely related independent clauses. Okay, so how this one works is when two independent clauses appear in one sentence, they're usually linked with the comma and the coordinating conjunction because we want to create that kind of connection. But if the clauses are closely related and the relation is clear without a conjunction, they can be linked with a semicolon instead. And they have the example right here. In a film, a low angle shot makes the subject look powerful. If you've noticed, go back and look at your superhero movies. You'll see that the camera often takes the image from below the actor to make them look more powerful. And when they want them to look less powerful, a high angle shot does the opposite. So you can see the relationship. We're talking about film. The second sentence is implying that we're still talking about film and we're still talking about the subject. A semicolon must be used wherever a coordinating conjunction has been omitted between independent clauses. So they give an example right here. If you don't have that, if you just have a comma between the two independent clauses, what you have is a comma splice, and that's a big no-no. Okay, so in 1800, a traveler needed 6 weeks to get from New York to Chicago. In 1860, the trip took only 2 days. So if we look at my examples here, Matt had 7 points in the basketball game. Will had 7. We don't say, well, did Will have 7 apples? We know it's kind of implied that Will had 7 points in the basketball game. It's kind of implied, and there you can see the relationship. So the question on whether or not you should use a comma and a coordinating conjunction versus this one is, you ask 2 questions. The first one is, the same thing goes with this one. You lead, I'll follow. Let's go down here. So the first question that you should ask when you're trying to determine if these ones are is there a relationship between the 2 clauses? And then the second question you ask is that relationship clear? Without using a comma and coordinating conjunction, a.k.a. FANBOYS. So that's the second. And if you can answer yes. So you lead, I'll follow. You lead, I will follow. So is there a relationship between these 2 clauses? Yeah, we're talking about some kind of leadership phenomenon that's happening. Is the relationship clear without using a comma and a coordinating conjunction? Absolutely. If I left that out, if I didn't have this, and I just put a comma, but no fanboys, then what I've got here is a run-on sentence, also known as a comma splice. You can still have another type of run-on sentence. It's called a fused sentence, where we just have, we have nothing in between them. We don't have a comma, we don't have a coordinating conjunction, we have nothing. Okay, the fused sentences can appear this way, where there's nothing in between them. So we've got to put something. We got to put a period or a comma, one of the fanboys, or a semicolon. The other way to do it is if you have just the coordinating conjunction and not a comma. These are both known as fused sentences. And if you look, Word is already telling me something. It's like, you really should put a comma there. And I'm like, thank you. But notice that because this one is longer, it doesn't appear. Word's like, nope, that's good. And I'm like, is it though? So it's not, actually. You're supposed to put that comma between them. And sometimes, as you see in both of these sentences, Word didn't tell me that. So you can't always rely on Word to tell you when you should be putting a comma between 2 complete sentences and a coordinating conjunction, one of those fanboys. So you can't rely on them. You have to, anytime, and this is the rule that I ask, okay, anytime that I have a sentence like this, like for example, the running back scored and the crowd cheered, okay? So We'll put this one all the way down here so we can see it all by itself and it won't be distracted by the rest. Okay, so I ask myself, when I see a sentence like this, I ask myself, okay, so I've got a subject and a verb right here, and I've got a subject and a verb. So I ask myself, whenever I use one of the fanboys, I ask myself this question, okay? I know I repeated myself a lot. Sorry guys, I'm a little tired after class doing this video. Okay, so I ask, is everything to the right of this coordinating conjunction a complete sentence? If the answer is yes, a complete sentence. So is it a complete sentence? If the answer is yes, then what I need to do is I need to put that little comma right there. Okay, if the answer is no, then I have a different take that I put on this. Okay, so if the answer is no, let's just say for sake of example, instead of the subject being here, it was this. Okay, so the running back scored and cheered. So again, I'm asking myself, is everything to the right of this fanboys a complete sentence? Is it? No. Okay, this is just a verb all by itself. This verb is actually dependent upon this subject right here, the running back. Okay, this is what's known as a compound verb or compound predicate. So what I need to do now is I need to get rid of that comma, because now I've created a different kind of grammar error. So when everything to the right of that fanboys is not a complete sentence, we don't put commas there. But if it is, okay, as we showed before, the crowd cheered, then we have to put that comma there. Otherwise, it's a fused sentence. I hope that makes sense. I wanted to kind of keep this one short so that you wouldn't have to feel like there was a ton to do. Go ahead and complete your own sentences, and in class, I will share my bad analogy, as I like to call it, to see if it helps you remember when you should be doing one.